The emergence of the detective story in the 19th century has been accounted for satisfactorily enough by Mr. Howard Haycraft. Clearly, he says, there could be no detective stories until there were detectives. This did not occur until the 19th century. The belated appearance of the spy story is harder to explain. Prostitution may be the oldest profession in the world, but that of the spy cannot be much younger. Long before Moses sent spies into Canaan, at Jehovah's suggestion it will be remembered, and Joshua's agents were hidden by Rehab in Jericho, the Sumerian rulers of Mesopotamia, who flourished 1,000 years or so before the traditional date of Adam, were sending out undercover operators to bedevil their opponents. There seems, in fact, to have been no period in recorded history during which secret agents have not played a part in political and military affairs. And yet it is difficult to think of any fictional spy story of note written more than 50 years ago, or before the scandal of the Dreyfus case provided a stimulus. The detective story can point to decent literary forebears in the work of Edgar Allan Poe and Wilkie Collins, from the Gothic vapours of Horace Walpole and Mrs. Radcliffe, and the dark flummery of Sheridan Le Fanu, even the horror story can claim respectability. The spy story remains disreputable, and it remains so not merely because many spy stories have been bad. Some critics have declared The Secret Agent to be Joseph Conrad's best novel, but the Biographical Dictionary of English Literature that I am looking at does not even list it among his works. Indeed, the attitude of many literary persons towards stories about spies is curiously like that of many generals and statesmen towards the spies of real life. It was Napoleon who said that one spy in the right place was worth 20,000 men in the field. He was speaking of his own spy, Schulmeister, a man of amazing courage, skill, and loyalty. But when the time came to reward Schulmeister for his service, it was the same Napoleon who refused him the Légion d'honneur for which he had been recommended, and the same Napoleon who commented that money was the only suitable reward for a spy. In most human beings, ideas of spying and being spied upon touch fantasy systems at deep and sensitive levels of the mind. It is not surprising, therefore, to find the Edwardian spy story well removed from reality and set against the simple, safe, black and white backdrop of Anglo-German rivalries. The familiar cloak and dagger stereotypes, the black velveted seductress, the British Secret Service numbskull hero, the omnipotent spy master, were created in this period mainly by William Le Queux and his imitators. E. Phillips Oppenheim was a better storyteller, and his private world of diplomatic salons, cosmopolitan hotels, and suave, stiff-shirted intrigue was more engaging. But there have been few good spy stories. Erskine Childers's The Riddle of the Sands, published in 1903, is not only a good spy story, but also one of the finest tales about small sailing craft ever written. Conrad's The Secret Agent, 1907, John Buchan's The 39 Steps, 1915, and W. Somerset Maugham's Ashendon, 1928, are, though by no means all of the same quality, the books that seem to me to demonstrate the best of the possibilities of the genre. Some fanciers might add W. F. Morris's Bretherton to the list. I wrote Epitaph for a Spy in 1937, and it was a mild attempt at realism. The central character is a stateless person, fairly unusual then. There are no professional devils, and the only Britisher in the story is anything but stalwart. I still like bits of it. Reviewing the British edition of the book, a communist periodical called Challenge let its hair down. "We must revise our ideas about foreign spies," wrote the reviewer tremulously. Mr. Ambler convinces us that they must no longer be associated with silky whiskers, leers and sneers, and prolonged ha-has. They are the people who walk abroad with us, work with us, and lie in wait for us in 1,000 odd familiar corners. At a price, they will betray us to our enemies. We must seek them out and punish them as they are punished in the Soviet Union. Not murder for murder, but the prevention of murder is the argument for harsh punishment of the offenders. But that was 1938, of course. Eric Ambler, London, 1951.
It's funny because I started this video at about 7:30 this morning. It's now 3:30 in the afternoon, and I started the video, or I wanted to start the video, complaining that they'd forecast a sunny day, yet it was cold, grey and miserable. It's still cold, but it's not very miserable, which is nice. It is indeed turned out, at least, into a sunny afternoon for the last 2 hours or so of daylight that we've got left. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Book Time with Elvis, with me, Mark. I probably can't make the whole video out here because my hands are freezing. But I do want to talk about a corker that I read as part of Dr. November. And I think we'll probably end up retiring to the warmth of my house in order to do that. So I shall see you inside, where we will be a tad more cozy than we are at the moment. Isn't that right, Elvis? I don't know if he's too sure about that. I think he'd like to stay out here.
So that bit you heard there at the beginning was a short essay by the wonderful Eric Ambler, who is a new author to me, not by reputation, of course, but it's the first time I've read any of his books. And last week I finished, or maybe it was even the beginning of this week, I can't quite remember, I finished his fantastic book, The Mask of Demetrius, which was great fun, and it's excellent. But it's not the corker that I'm going to talk about today. The corker I got through very quickly, and it's also by Eric Ambler, who I think is quickly becoming one of my favourite writers. I'm already on to my third book by him, but I'm going to talk about the second book I read by him, which is a corker. And I didn't want to read an excerpt from it. I thought it was more interesting to read that particular essay that came at the end of the book. The way it discussed espionage literature. And of course, you have to bear in mind he's writing that in 1951. So that's pre-Bond. It's pre-John le Carré. So I think, of course, when he's writing it, his points are quite relevant. But enough talk. What is the book that I am going to briefly talk about and recommend to you as being an absolute corker? It is Eric Ambler's Epitaph for a Spy. There it is there. And it was, well, for me anyway, it was wonderful. It follows the story of a chap called Joseph Vadassi, and he is a stateless Hungarian. The reason he's stateless is because he was born in Hungary, and then after the Second World War, through various treaties, after the end of the war, he ended up being in Yugoslav territory. However, from brief mention in the book, that his family was quite political, so he ended up having to leave. He settled for a time in England, where he worked, until he lost his work permit and ended up having to go to France, where this story takes place. His passport is currently out of date, and that's kind of is the early problem that appears in the book when he turns up at a resort town in the south of France to take a holiday before starting a new job in Paris. Ostensibly, he's brought in on the charge of something to do with his passport being out of date, and then it quickly moves on to his hobby. His hobby is photography, and he took some photos to be developed along to the local chemist. The chemist thought that some of the photos were suspicious, so he turned them over to the police, and hence Vadassi finds himself arrested on a charge of espionage. He's then released on parole when they establish that probably he is not the person who took the pictures, and he is sent back to his hotel, or B&B probably, because it's quite small. There are only about 12 other guests there. He's sent back there to find the real culprit, the real spy. And of course, he's completely naive in this. He has no idea really how to do it, and he makes, to be honest, a real pig's ear of it. But it's very entertaining. It has some good bits of humor in it, great characters, and it's very suspenseful. It's very much like, I would say, an Agatha Christie murder mystery without a murder. The act of trying to unmask the spy is in itself extremely engaging, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Captivating, suspenseful, maybe that's what I'm looking for. I'm not sure, but it really grabs you, and you're flying by the edge of your seat when you are with Yosef and his hunt for the real spy. And of course, you feel all his emotions as he feels that his own life might be ruined should he fail to unmask this treacherous man or woman during the course of his mission from the French security services. But it's a wonderful read, and even if you don't like or haven't tried much espionage fiction, I can absolutely recommend it. I think I can't see how someone couldn't like this book, actually. If you like, as I say, murder mysteries or anything else, the suspense in it, the twists and turns will definitely draw you in. So that's our return of What a Corker, and it is, of course, as I've said already, Eric Ambler's Epitaph for a Spy. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to be back soon. Apologies again, I keep dropping in and out. I've been having a few minor health issues, nothing bad, just colds and sore throats and things like that. And I keep thinking I get over it, and then I get struck down by another one. So yeah, that's kind of been my ongoing issue at the moment. But I shall be back soon, and I wish you all a wonderful day with whatever you're doing. And do let me know down below if you've read Epitaph for a Spy or anything else by Eric Ambler, what you think of it, what else you might be reading for Dr. NoVember as well, or even what you're just reading in general. I always love to see it. Do take care, everybody. From Elvis and I, bye-bye.